welcome to the stage, all the way from the southern village of Talafofo, the Ballot Ballet.
We got this. What connects you? What moments weave you together? What inspires your story? The relationships we forge today shape us for a lifetime. Our bonds strengthen us, empower us, embolden us, nourish us. We're committed to delivering those connections that matter when and where they matter the most. Connections like family, community, duty, culture, passion. We work to keep you anchored to what drives you, moves you. We work to forge bonds so strong, so steady.
As Super Typhoon Yutu continues its direct path towards the Earth,
that even the mightiest forces can't break it.
I'm okay, I'm safe. Just stay in the line, okay?
These relationships mean everything to us because we share these same values, the same heritage, and the same home.
Manasay na. Babadi dunu itano wizo sa malago jumulofan. Dadenge matom dugi tano u kamulofana mga mamaise.
In a sea of connections, all that's left to ask is, what connects you?
Please welcome to the stage, all the way from the southern village of Talapofo, the Bailo Ballet.
We got this.
What connects you? What moments weave you together? What inspires your story? The relationships we forge today shape us for a lifetime. Our bonds strengthen us, empower us, embolden us, nourish us. We're committed to delivering those connections that matter when and where they matter the most. Connections like family, community, duty, culture, passion. We work to keep you anchored to what drives you, moves you. We work to forge bonds so strong, so steady,
As Super Typhoon YouTube continues to continues its direct path towards the earth.
that even the mightiest forces can't break it.
I'm okay, I'm safe. Just stay in the line, okay?
These relationships mean everything to us because we share these same values, the same heritage, and the same home.
Manasay na. Babati dunu itanu wizu sa malagu ju malofan. Jajangge matom ju gitano u malofana mga mamaise.
In a sea of connections, all that's left to ask is, what connects you? Mic test, mic test. Hafaday and good evening, everyone. Please rise for the singing of the U.S. National and CNMI anthems by Francis Peter and Tyler Fittow, and the presenting and posting of colors by the KHS Azuzu Battalion Color Guard Team.
Mic check, mic.
Left face, present colors.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light was so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof to the night that our flag was still there. Oh, sailors, that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. Kita lugyalong tosi nagaigitan oku azonay sempre soga malago oku. Daun dia baru now baik waktu atalu disinya kau udigo otano mi peces and moss who saludawao God bona islas mañana hutuna mil peces and moss who saludawao
You may be seated. Good evening and welcome to the 2024 U.S. Delegate of the CNMI Candidate Debate hosted by the Saipan Chamber of Commerce. My name is Kim Camacho, Executive Director for the Saipan Chamber of Commerce. On behalf of SCC Board of Directors and our members, thank you for joining us tonight. Our moderator for tonight is Ms. Catherine Perry, a long-standing figure in communications in the CNMI and proprietor of Integrity Communications, serving as director and host for Your Humanities Half-Hour program since 2010. She plays a key role in promoting cultural and intellectual discussions through the show, which airs weekly on KSPN2 cable TV, Power 99, various podcast platforms, and YouTube. The program features interviews with humanities scholars, students, community organizations, and special guests, fostering community engagement and exploration of the human experience. Ms. Perry's dedication to the local community and her efforts highlight diverse voices make her a significant contributor to the media and cultural landscape of the Marianas. Please help me welcome Ms. Catherine Perry with a warm round of applause. Next to Ms. Perry is our auditor, Dr. Joshua Wise of PHI Pharmacy. And to Ms. Perry's right is our timekeeper for this evening, Mercelyn Palek, the chairwoman of our SCC Ed Work Committee. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you, Sizus Maasi, and let's begin tonight's debate.
Thank you, Executive Director Kim and Hafade, Tero, and good evening, candidates, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to jump right into our rules and format for tonight. These were shared with the candidates last week in preparing. For our audience, this is a non-participatory audience. Audience are asked to refrain from talking, applauding, making noise, and doing anything visible or audible to express support or opposition to any candidate during the debate. No campaign materials, literature, hats, stickers, signs, or banners are allowed inside the venue. All electronic devices are asked to be turned off or set to silent mode. And if you must take a call, kindly exit the hall quietly, and to avoid distractions, you will be allowed to re-enter the hall at intermission or after the debate. Out of respect for all the candidates, we ask that the audience refrain from talking during the debate. And when recording or taking photos, please refrain from standing or lifting the recording device above your head level. No person is allowed on the stage except for the candidates, the chamber staff, and volunteers, and violations will prompt immediate removal from the debate venue. Thank you. Ground rules for the 2024 congressional candidates. Again, as we discussed last week, candidates will each be given 1 minute for opening statements and 2 minutes for closing statements. The order of opening and closing statements is based on the Commonwealth Election Committee's ballot number assignment. Number 1, Mr. Propst. Number 2, Ms. Hofschneider. Number 3, Ms. King-Hinds. Number 4, Mr. Rayphand. And number 5, Mr. Gonzales. Candidates shall adhere to all time limits on statements, answers, rebuttals, and responses, and time limits will be strictly enforced. Candidates shall remain in their assigned area for the duration of the debate except during intermission. And yes, I must say that you may not use profanity, display obscene gestures, or intimidate anyone in the room with a threat of any kind. Candidates shall not interrupt other candidates during their response, rebuttal, opening, and closing statements, and I may interrupt a candidate if I believe they are attacking another candidate. Candidates shall address the audience, please. When responding to a question, responses should not be directed toward an opposing candidate. And I will state when the time begins by some statement containing the word now, such as, candidate, your time starts now. Candidates shall not have access to any person or device during the debate. Now, regarding tonight's questions were collected from chamber members and the public and compiled by our auditor. The auditor reviewed all submissions to identify and consolidate the most pressing concerns, resulting in 10 comprehensive questions that reflect a broad range of interests. These questions were then prepared to ensure a focused and relevant discussion. All questions have been kept secret and in sealed envelopes by the auditor. Questions have not been previously shared with any candidate. Questions will be drawn randomly by the auditor and presented to myself, the moderator. And our final role for our timekeeper, she is present to keep time of each candidate's response. There is a countdown clock being displayed here, both facing the audience and one facing the candidates. Microphones will be muted when time runs out. And now, without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce your candidates for the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands congressional election. Audience, again, we ask that you please hold your applause at this time. One moment. As we read your bio, we ask that you take the stage, beginning with candidate number 1, Mr. Edwin Propst. Representative Edwin Kenneth Propst is a 5-term member of the CNMI legislature representing Precinct 1. He is the floor leader in the 23rd House of Representatives and has also served as minority leader and chair or vice chair of committees and oversight investigations. A true islander, Representative Propst was born in American Samoa and raised in the Marianas. He is the son of longtime CNMI educators, the late Ivan and Juanita Propst. Representative Propst is married to Daisy Manglonia Propst, whose family resides in Rota and Saipan, and they have 4 children, Kiana, Devin, Caden, Logan, and 4 dogs. Candidate number 2, Ms. Liana Hofschneider. Liana Hofschneider, born and raised in Chalankanoa, received her primary education in Saipan and graduated high school in Seattle, Washington. She attended the University of Washington, Northern Virginia Community College, and University of Hawaii. Ms. Hofschneider has held key management roles in both the private and public sectors, including Pacific Data Systems, Hyatt Regency Saipan, and the CNMI legislature. She is committed to advocating for the Northern Marianas, focusing on economic growth, healthcare access, education, and environmental protection. She is committed to working to ensure the CNMI's voice is heard and to secure a brighter future for our islands. Candidate number 3, Ms. Kimberlyn King-Hinds. Kimberlyn King-Hinds, Esquire, is an attorney practicing law since 2014. She holds a GD and Native Hawaiian Law Certificate from the University of Hawaii and a BA in Political Science from Loyola Marymount University. In 2015, she opened her law practice, focusing on government policy, family law, probate, and civil litigation. Ms. King-Hinds has served on numerous boards, including as chair of the Commonwealth Ports Authority. In 2021, she became the first CNMI president of the Association of Pacific Ports in over 20 years. Candidate number 4, Mr. James Rayphand. James Rayphand holds a master's degree in education with a focus on administration and supervision from the University of Guam and a Bachelor of Arts in English from Hampton-Sydney College, Virginia. He previously served as director of the Office of Vocational Rehabilitation, OVR, in the Governor's Cabinet and was executive director of NMPOSSE. Mr. Rayphand also worked as a classroom teacher and later as a school administrator at San Vicente Elementary School. Before his appointment to OVR, he spent a year as a small-scale commercial fisherman on Saipan. He earned his high school diploma from St. Anne's Belfield in Virginia. and candidate number 5, Mr. John Gonzales. John Oliver de los Reyes Bolas Gonzales, a native of Saipan with Chamorro and Filipino heritage, has over 30 years of public service and community leadership experience. He has worked in the CNMI's executive and legislative branches and with the U.S. Congress, serving as Chief of Staff and Policy Advisor to 2 gubernatorial administrations. A skilled grant writer and advocate, Mr. Gonzales is focused on using the CNMI's covenant and resources to address key issues. He holds a BA in Political Science and History, a Master's in International Management, and is a proud father of 3 U.S. Coast Guard Academy cadets. With respect, welcome. With respect to each of the accomplishments of our candidates, we will address them as Mr. and Ms. so as to create a more equal playing field amongst all candidates this evening. This concludes the introduction segment of our debate, and now we will move on to opening statements. Beginning with our first candidate, Mr. Probst. You have 1 minute for your opening statement, and your time starts now.
Hafade, Tiruwami, Mabuhay. My name is Edwin Kenneth Propst, and I am the floor leader for the 23rd House of Representatives. I want to thank our host, the Saipan Chamber of Commerce, for putting this event together tonight. I also want to thank everyone here for this wonderful evening, and of course, hello to everyone viewing online. For more information for my plan and platform, I'd like you to please visit edprobst.com. You know, these are some very challenging times. I want you to know that we're all in this together. And I firmly believe things can get better. I'm running as a Democrat with the endorsement of the Independent Democrat Coalition. I have a great working relationship with the public and the private sectors, Republicans, Democrats, and independents alike. I have a plan, and I have the team and the legislative experience that can make it happen. This November 5, I humbly ask for your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Probst. Ms. Hofschneider, you have 1 minute for your opening statement. Your time starts now.
Holidays and greetings. Guahu si Liana Hofschneider, nanahu si Carmen Adam Anglonia, tatahu si Vicente Atalik Sablan, gaigizugini sa no malaguzu manazuda, zautunga na importantes na oficina, tiu na holum nanu sa ositan, utunga na serioso, itanota no disti 49 anos, disti tafitma e contratas na América, no mugaha man maprobenizi hit, za importante na ita, para ta kadzun mo na za tanadinansi ofa ti tetenan man manoid. Pusufa facing hamzu ngini humidin corazonno pen considerazo za ta fenano mo na za tanadinansi sa bula kampu para tanadinansi para famagonta para hita za manomko. Jesus Masi, and good evening.
Thank you, Ms. Hofschneider. Ms. King-Hinds, 1 minute starting now.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Kimberlyn King-Hinds, and I'm running because I believe in the strength of our people, our ability to rise, our right to govern our own destiny. We are worthy. We are worthy. We are capable of managing our own affairs. We deserve parity. We deserve an economy that works for all of us. We shouldn't have to beg for what we rightfully deserve. I'm leveling up to move the CNMI forward. I believe that there is nothing that we can't accomplish, but we must try. And trying begins with choosing a delegate who has the experience, the relationships, the competence, and the passion to represent you in DC. And if you believe, like I do, that nothing is impossible and that together we can achieve a brighter future, then vote for me this November and let's level up and move the CNMI forward together. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. King-Hinds. Mr. Rayphand, 1 minute for your opening statement. Starting now.
Some years ago, I read something that either my mother or the late Ted Mitchell wrote for their Article 12 cases. They were fighting to secure the indigenous hold on these lands. It said the motive force behind the political compromise is memorialized in the covenant was that the people of the Northern Marianas did not want to achieve their ambition of becoming part of the American political family, only to find themselves landless paupers in their new Commonwealth. That's what motivates me. I'm not indigenous to the CNMI, but my kids are, and I will do everything I can to ensure that their land, our way of life, their cultural anchor remains intact long after I'm gone. Our covenant is a promise that we can be Americans without having to give up who we are as islanders. We very recently lost two of the esteemed islanders who negotiated that for us. I'll yield the balance of my time for a moment of silence in honor of them.
Thank you, Mr. Rayphand. Mr. Gonzales, 1 minute. Your time starts now.
Lead with heart, your economy delegate, leveraging our covenant and U.S. military strategic need for our ocean and leased lands, articulating our people's compelling sufferings from dire health, utilities, and economic collapse, aggravated by the worst inflation ever. Lobby to secure emergency economic, social relief, stimulus funding and programs for our people, our working middle class, retirees, senior citizens, veterans, and small businesses. Now more than ever, we need a relentless servant, not a politician, who is proactive and will respectfully negotiate with the U.S. government to introduce necessary legislation and to secure the promises of the covenant by the United States pursuant to sections 701 to 703 for dire fundings, more new programs we are entitled to, not handouts for which we qualify when we reside in the United States. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzales, and thank you, candidates, for those opening thoughts. We're now going to move on to the meat of our program, the questionnaire segment. Question number 1. Mr. Propst, this question is on the topic of nutrition. Given the challenges of limited funding, high food prices, and supply chain issues in the CNMI, how would you, as our next U.S. delegate, address these barriers to improve the effectiveness and reach of nutrition assistance programs in the region? You have 1 minute and 30 seconds, and your time starts now.
Thank you for that beautiful question. I want to say that the challenge with what we've been challenged with is our location, where we're at right now, the difficulty of trying to get the best produce in. What we have learned from Rhoda is that we need to really push and grow our own produce as much as we possibly can. Rhoda has been doing a successful job of that with the current mayor, Abihokog. I think we need to focus less on being so dependent on bringing in so much from the United States that we've been seeing, that how long it can take to come into the CNMI, several weeks. A lot of the produce is expensive because of the shipping. I would look to that as a possible solution. Thank you.
Thank you. Rebuttals are 1 minute, starting with Ms. Hofschneider. 1 moment. Starting now.
Thank you for that question. I appreciate that, especially when talking about the nutrition and the cost of commodities coming in. I think we continue to echo this in the media and national and local media about the cost of commodities coming in from food, gas, Pampers, you name it. My plan to that is to work with the delegate from the representative from Hawaii, Congressman Ed Case, to work on the shipping costs that'll be subsidized in some way, so that'll help reduce our costs coming in. As we know, 100% of our commodities are being imported into the ports. At the same time, work with the ports also to leverage some of those cost of commodities being tagged to the container arriving and wharfage and the like. At the same time, I would like to also work with the local production to improve our production locally. Thank you.
Ms. King-Hinds, starting now.
You know, one of the things that I'm really excited about is listening to the frontliners who feel the impact of how every citizen out here struggle with the price of commodities. And I'm talking here about the mayors. And one of the things that Mayor RB has been talking about is expanding food security initiatives and pushing to have a co-op to be able to allow our community members to participate in the agricultural industry. One of the things that Mayor Aldon and I've been working on with him is growing and expanding the cattle industry. And we've been very excited about our work with Northern Marianas College and CREASE in being able to push that industry forward. I'm excited to hear about these microloans that are coming out, and I would love to be able to support and advocate for more microloans to be able to support these industries. Thank you.
Mr. Rayphand, starting now.
If we're talking about getting people healthier, then we need to educate the population a little more about what that means. I'm 52 years old, and I'm still trying to figure out what it means to eat healthy, what it is. How do you live a healthier lifestyle? So there's an education component to that. Beyond that, we need to incent people to get back in touch with what the land already provides for us. We need to get back in touch with the fish and the breadfruit taro. We need to get back in touch with what the land already offers. So I'm agreeing with Kim. One of the things I talked about is wanting to get on the agriculture committee, one of the oldest in the country. But I want to get on it for the mere fact that they have jurisdiction over all things agriculture, and I think the CNMI needs to be a hub for that. I think incenting people to grow their own food. One last thing while I'm thinking about it, Commerce has a nice program now where they're paying local farmers to sell their product. I mean, programs like that incent people to grow, incent people to fish, and then the healthy eating hopefully follows.
Mr. Gonzales? Now.
I have been a firm believer of going back to basics. My late wife Charlene and I actually raised our sons to live off of our gardens. So we had our herbs, garlic, stuff outside of our gardens. We must access grants for home gardening and community gardens more than ever. We must work on executing, not talking, actual consortiums with Micronesian islands and countries so that we can maximize and share the cost and reduce those savings off to our consumers. We must modify our laws so we can remove the triple taxation of commodities in our ports of entries. We tax them in Saipan, Tinian, and Rhoda on top of the wholesale tax and the retail sales taxes monthly. Ladies and gentlemen, we must do better. Our people are suffering. Reduce and pass on the savings and assist tanoi alibio masi tautauta. Sizus masi.
Mr. Probst, we come back to you for final rebuttal of 30 seconds, starting now.
Thank you. And part of eating healthier is being able to afford to eat healthier. If you've noticed the challenges that we've had, a lot of people are buying canned goods because it's just a cheaper option. We need to give better incentives for people to grow their own produce and get greater support and incentives from the USDA and other federal programs to the United States. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. We will now move on to question number 2. For Ms. Hofschneider, this question is on the topic of CHCC. The Commonwealth Healthcare Corporation is the CNMI's only hospital and safety net provider serving all residents, regardless of our ability to pay. What federal policies would you support to address the challenges related to limited federal funding and training within the CNMI's healthcare system? You have 1 minute and 30 seconds. Your time starts now.
Thank you for that question. First of all, one of my platforms, as I said, is to build a new hospital. Our hospital has outgrown us. One of the things that I would like to work with is I will work directly with the Department of Defense to be a line item and have a new hospital to improve our technology and access to quality health care. I am a caregiver for a husband of mine who has survived 4 cancers in the last 19 years, so I know the struggle. How do we help the hospital? We have to recognize that the hospital today, if you look at the paper, the hospital continues to be plagued with over $60 million worth of utility bills that they cannot even manage. So how do we do that? I want to work with the Department of of course, the Department of Health in the United States, and have a direct funding to bail us out, going back to some of the things that have made the CNMI unable to sustain its economy, was the lifting of the NAFTA that affected the garment industry, that it saw its eventual closure, and that's a $1 billion industry, so that's the impact. I want to sit down with the United States Congress and talk about those issues, how they can mitigate those loss of revenues that had actually sustained our economy, and that's the things that I want to do. At the same time, the hospital needs an external auditing to look at the operation if we are really maximizing. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hofschneider. 1 minute for rebuttal. Ms. King-Hinds, your time starts now.
You know, I've been reaching out to the doctors, and I've been reaching out to the Commonwealth, to CHCC, and I've spoken to the administrators there. And one of the things that they, along with other folks within other insular areas and territories, that they have been advocating basically to remove the Medicaid funding, I'm sorry, the Medicaid cap, that right now limits the amount of money that CHCC gets. So what happens is that cap, once it runs out, we now have to rely on the general fund. We need to expand Medicare eligibility so that more people can afford access to health care. The other thing that we need to address really is these high deductibles that is impacting the middle class's ability to be able to afford health care. We need to work on that, and we need to look at other models and bring good models here to bring down that cost so that everybody can have access to health care. Thank you.
Mr. Rayphand, starting now.
You know, I don't know as much of this as I should, but I think there ought to be some regulations, or we need to be regulating the price structures on medical costs, medical services here. I believe there are structures in place. The idea maybe is the hospital can only charge this much if they're providing this and this and that. You know, we can't have a hospital charging rates equivalent to the best hospitals in the country and not be able to have the level of service that we should expect. So that's one. You know, I heard some discussion too about the supporting the enhancement of the Affordable Health Care Act. I know the employers, they're scared off by the employer mandate on that, but I think as a delegate you could work for subsidies to try to offset the cost of the employers and make sure that everybody's insured. You know, I think that would be a good component to the island. And then again, I'm gonna not make a habit of this, but I'm gonna agree with Kim again about trying to get rid of the Medicaid cap going forward.
Mr. Gonzales, starting now.
I have been a firm believer of data. We must review and assess the overall costs of medical referral ever since to date, and use the data to inform me as to what's the adequate funding to address these cuts, these costs in the immediate term, and to introduce requisite legislation to address that from a policy perspective. Number two, execute a similar MOU with Philippine hospitals like the Premier St. Luke's, like Guam is doing with US Medicaid funding allocated to Guam. Why can't we do the same? We stretch that dollar and share it with the other patients who are sick. My son was operated in San Diego. It would have costed 8 more people that we could have shared with other patients if we were in the Philippines. Require us to save the costs and pass the savings.
Mr. Probst, your time starts now.
Thank you. As your delegate, I will support H.R. 949 and H.R. 8327, and this is to provide the redistribution of unused territorial cap amounts under the Medicaid program, and of course, as Kim said, lift the caps on the Medicaid program. That's essential. We'll also work on obtaining essential medical equipment. We look right now, we finally got an MRI for the CHC, thanks to the Hemsley Family Trust. Thank God for that. You know, in addition to that, support NMC and the Commonwealth Healthcare Corporation to provide up-to-date medical training, establish a CNMI as a regional hub for healthcare training. That's something so crucial. The big challenges that CHC has is that they can never turn anyone away. Uncompensated healthcare costs alone average $10 to $15 million a year, and somebody has to pay for that. Thank you.
Ms. Hofschneider, back to you for the final word, 30 seconds.
Thank
Starting
you.
now.
Thank you. As you can see, a lot of mentions about healthcare access and coverage. I'm talking on a global perspective. At the same time, like I said, our hospital continues. We can name all the names and all of the access, but at the same time, our hospital needs a quality review for quality care and auditing of our facility. As said, several here, I talked about lifting Medicaid. We can lift that, but no matter what, we're still spending money.
Thank you, candidates. Question number 3, Ms. King-Hinds. This question is on the topic of economy. Given the critical role of tourism in the CNMI's economy and the need for broader economic growth, what specific federal initiatives would you propose to enhance the tourism sector and stimulate overall economic development? Your time starts now.
Thank you for that question. And I've said this before in previous conversation. Our economy is at its best when it's the tourism industry plus another industry. We saw our economy at its best when we had the tourism industry and the garment industry, and then years later, the tourism industry plus the casino industry. Well, all those have gone away now. And one of the things, the only thing that we have left is the tourism industry. And what we're not doing is doing everything that we can to freely open up all access to the markets. And as your delegate, that is the first thing that I would advocate for, is to open up all markets. I've been fighting and bringing up the issue of lifting or restoring the Annex 6 exemption. That is critical. It's critical to putting food on a table. It's critical to growing our economy. So that's one, right, is addressing that immediate need. Guys, the other thing is that the military is not an industry. It's a passing thing. We're in the construction phase. After that, we don't know because we don't have the same situation as Guam. So we need to stop having these conversations that the military is going to fill in these holes and these gaps. It is not the answer. And we have to work and look at other areas of opportunities to be able to identify an industry that works for the CNMI. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. King-Hinds. Mr. Rayphand, starting now.
So anytime we talk about the economy, I'm probably going to repeat this over and over, but we need to reduce costs and we need to facilitate new industry, right? Tourism requires the same thing. We need to reduce the cost of travel, among other things, to incent tourists to come here. Right? That's one. Bring in new industry. What are the tourists going to do here besides enjoy our beaches and such when they are here? So that's one. As far as the existence of military, I guess I'm going to respond to Kim a little bit, but no, it's not a substitute for new industry. The military is not, but they can coexist. The military can coexist here, and I think they can offer a lot, including to the tourism industry. I think there's military personnel who are tourists too, right? So that's it for me.
Mr. Gonzales? Starting now.
I am your economy delegate and will relentlessly justify our compelling need for emergency economic and social relief programs to resuscitate and rescue our collapsing economy. We must find new funding opportunities. Ladies and gentlemen, since my first time running in 2008, we must invoke Covenant Section 904 to ensure that the United States includes the CNMI in participating in U.S. trade missions, economic industries, destination branding, and incentivize American investments. I mean, it'd be, how cool it would be for CHIPS and other technology companies to have headquarters here in American soil. I'm excited, and we must engage the United States trade representative in Asia, around the world, with trusted allies so that we can incentivize investors to come and set up shop here with select USA annual trade fairs missions year-round.
Mr. Propst, starting now.
Thank you. I think one of the important things that we have to look at is bringing back 702 funding. At one point, we were receiving about $28 million a year through 702 funding, And adjusted with inflation today, that would be roughly $58 to $60 million. That is a huge, huge boost to our economy that we could use to invest in our infrastructure, which is so desperately needed. Look at CUC right now with the antiquated engines and the crazy costs that we're paying for CUC. This is money that we can get, and it is money that I will fight for, along with our governor, by the way, and Lieutenant Governor, who are supportive of this. That's something that I will work hard on. I also want to put out that the military and tourism can coexist. If you want to look for proof for that, look no further than our neighbor island of Guam. They're doing a beautiful job of doing it. We can emulate that. They had success during COVID when we were really suffering. Thank you.
Ms. Hofschneider, starting now.
Thank you. As you can hear, I was educated at the University of Hawaii, and I became the chairperson for the University of Hawaii Student Caucus. One of my role representing 60,000 students, 10 campuses, and we also are our Carnegie One Research Institute. And through that experience, I have found out there's a lot of money that we can do. Basically, it's called education, investing in education. So I wanted to create an institute of volcanology, geoscience, institute of technology and international studies, and to move the Northern Marianas College from a 2-year institution to a 4-year institution. So we are able to do all these studies and receive funding through education and scholarship. I believe that's very sustainable. I've seen that. We work with the military on several research grants funded by the Department of Defense. And as you're aware, the Department of Defense is $820 billion industry. Thank you.
Ms. King-Hinds, the final word, starting now.
Let's be very clear. The reason why the military is working with regards to boosting Guam's economy is that Camp Bloss is not finished. But once that is finished, all these folks that are being put up at the hotels, that are filling up the hotels in Guam, that have filled up the hotels during the pandemic, is gonna go away. They're gonna go and stay in Camp Bloss. So we can't rely on that industry. We have to take action now to open up all markets so that we can answer the call of the business community and our tourism industry. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. Question number 4, Mr. Rayphand. This question is on the topic of networking and relations. Congressman Kalili has established a notable 16-year legacy and cultivated strong connections in Congress. As a new delegate, how would you work to build your own relationships, secure committee assignments, and establish influence within the legislative body? Your time starts now.
So Kilili likes to talk about the office as being the people's office, right? Those are his relationships, he built them, but he built them for our office. So every relationship that we starts there, right? Those relationships don't go away. The relationships that were built on behalf of the people of the CNMI, and we need to continue that. So everything starts with where Kilili left off, right? As far as beyond that, it's going to take, this is really where the nitty-gritty of the job comes in, right? You're going to have to schedule meetings with the respective members of Congress. You're going to have to try to convince whoever the senior members are of the committees that you should be on that committee. Again, I'm already targeting agriculture and natural resources. Natural resources obviously being a little easier given Kilili's time on there, I would think. But it starts with making those office calls. You know, we're gonna have to, one of the first 100 days is gonna have to involve meeting with as many members as possible, right? And that's really sort of the nuts and bolts of the job. So it's a little bit of both. We can't assume that all the work that Kilili's done is gone and the relationships are, everything's gotta start from new. That's just not how that's gonna work. But then of course it's gonna take a little bit of your own finesse in how you build relationships, right? And so I think that's where I'm at with that.
Thank you, Mr. Rayphand. Mr. Gonzales, starting now.
Ladies and gentlemen, I cannot emphasize that we need a leader with impeccable character, integrity, credibility, highest ethics of decorum and public trust, with character that's worthy of restoring and working with both aisles of Congress. We must work with everyone. We must build bridges. We must work with the federal government and Congress and educate them about our covenant. And we must be respectful and humble and show them and educate them about the compelling needs of our people, the suffering that our people in luta, ni man mamadedesi, latantuno, kung beef that's about $10, a sack of rice that's about $85. We must present somebody who's through the rut. I've been there. I have been there, and I know how it is. We need somebody who can internalize that and champion our people. Thank you.
Mr. Probst, starting now.
Thank you. In June, I went to Washington, D.C. and spent about 2 weeks there and had the great pleasure of meeting with Congressman Kilili, his Chief of Staff, Bob Schwalbeck, and his staff, getting to know the inner workings of D.C. While there, I also attended the Senior Leadership Conference. I got to meet with cabinet members in the White House, with actual cabinet members, and it was a very wonderful, innovative, and inspiring trip. I learned a lot out of that. When it comes to networking and relations, I've been doing that for the past 10 years. When I first came into office, I was a regular member and a minority member. I went to minority leader, and I am now a floor leader with the House. But I've always made sure to reach across the aisle and work with everyone. Everyone I work with right now in the House and the Senate is a friend, and we work together. Thank you.
Ms. Hofschneider, starting now.
Thank you, and I appreciate this question. This is very important in Washington. Having worked in Washington through the University of Hawaii as a representative of the university, going there advocating, meeting with members of Congress and meeting with department secretaries in Washington, D.C., as they say, a beltway mentality. You have to understand that. That phrase. And having done that, Hawaii is a blue state, and the governor at the time, a two-term governor, was a Republican. And I've learned my boots on the ground to work across the aisle with both Republican and Democrats in the United States Congress, yielding us millions, and today it's $1 billion, bringing over to the University of Hawaii and the state. And I'm happy to use those skills and training that they provided me. I was trained for over 5 years, and that was a blessing in disguise today that I decide to run as the U.S. Congress delegate for our island, and I'm very privileged if you send me to Washington to do the same. Thank you.
Ms. King-Hinds, one moment, starting now.
You know, one of the things that I think most people here know, that if you want to know anything about how office functions or who gets to push what agenda, you talk to the staff. You talk to the chief of staff, you talk to the people in the front, you talk to the everyday person, not the congressman, right? Because it's the staff that does the work. And over the last 10 years, we've had a flurry of visits on Tinian because of the military impact by staff DELs. Folks who come to the ground, who've come to the ground, whom we've built relationship with, whom we communicate with on a regular basis. And I intend to capitalize on this relationship and capitalize on the relationship that I've built with the Department of Defense, with EPA, with the Department of Transportation. These are relationships that I have currently. I don't have to build them. I can walk in any of these offices and I can make an appointment very easily because of those relationships. And so that's exactly what I intend to do. Thank you.
Mr. Rayphand, the final word, starting now.
Yeah, one of the most important, arguably the most important relationship that we never talk about is the relationship of the people on your own staff and the staff of the people of the Northern Mariana Islands, right? So just to kind of dovetail with what Kim's saying, yes, the staff of the congressional offices are important, but particularly for the delegate, the staff that you're going to be working with directly are the most important. First of all, a lot of those particular staff have all the institutional knowledge that we need to get started. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. And now we'll move on to our final question before our intermission, question number 5. Mr. Gonzales, this question is on the topic of tourism. Congressman Kilili has repeatedly followed up with meetings and letters to the Department of Transportation on the reinstatement of Annex 6. What is your position on Annex 6, and what would you do, if anything, to enhance access for tourists from China? Your time starts now.
Free market enterprise demands that we develop robust economic systems, policies, regulations, and that we leverage our partnership. We have the best and strongest, most resourceful country in the world, the United States, with vast consortiums and presence around the world. Tourism is our main economic engine, absolutely. And we must make sure that we invoke Section 904 so that the United States, once and for all, in all of its trade missions abroad, nationally in the United States and abroad, includes the Northern Marianas. We cannot afford it alone. We don't have the money. Our competitors have hundreds of millions of dollars to promote and brand their destinations. We have pennies in the bucket. We need to do better. We must leverage our United States partner, the Department of Defense, and also the U.S. Trade Representative, Department of Commerce, the U.S. Treasury. Let's work with them, partner with them, and let's present the compelling, dire needs that we need, because our low economy of scale is tough enough already. And we must address our taxation laws so that we incentivize investors to expand and headquarter in the Commonwealth. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzales. Mr. Probst, starting now.
Thank you. Recently, Governor Palacios and Lieutenant Governor Apateng and I met with the staff delegation from the U.S. House of Representatives, the Committee on Defense Appropriations on Military and Economic Priorities. And this is a bipartisan senior staffers on this. One of the biggest things they were concerned about was China. And their concerns were echoed through several of the questions, and we sat there. But with regard to our tourism, one of the things that we have to look at is bringing in higher end tourism. We've seen some of the tourists that we get and what they're spending. We need to work on our product, but you also need to entice tourists that are actually willing to spend more and actually shop at the small businesses, the mom and pop businesses that are often avoided when many tourists come here. We need to ensure that they're supporting all businesses here in the CNMI. Thank you.
Ms. Hofschneider, one moment. Starting now.
Thank you. Tourism and the question on Annex 6. For those that don't understand Annex 6, that's the lifting of the number of air flights coming in unabated between China and the Northern Marianas. I do not support expanding that. I support working on other venues such as Australia, Canada, and other allies of the United States. Currently, and Congressman Probst just said that, there are over 20 bills that are being entertained right now at the United States Congress regarding China. There's a lot of tension. Recently, you saw on the news the sea out there in the China Sea with the Philippine Navy and the Chinese Navy. We cannot be blind-minded with this. What we need to do is find another source of tourism into our island, like conferences. We have several hotels, we can convert it into convention centers and art centers that we can invite those kind of tourism. Thank you, and I'll yield my time.
Ms. King-Hinds, starting now.
When HandMe asked for help, who answered the call? When the chamber asked for help, who answered the call? The legislature did not. The office of the governor did not. I did. I wrote a letter to the Department of Transportation asking them to restore Annex 6, to open up the markets so that we can restore our tourism industry. And you know what I've been hearing right now from our federal partners? How is this policy different than the Muslim ban? They all think it's racist because it's particularized to a group of people based on their national origin. That is the conversation that folks from DC are telling me within the administration. And the other thing, guys, I'm here to represent the interest of the people of the Commonwealth, not the federal government's interest to the CNMI. And the people are asking for this to be restored, and I will continue to fight until this happens. Thank you very much.
Mr. Rayphand, starting now.
So I find it really frustrating, and this is not a knock on my fellow candidates here, but I find it really frustrating that the two people up here who have had seats at the table with the military and with congressional staff have opposing perspectives on whether China is a threat or not. I don't know. I haven't had seats with the military. I haven't had seats with the congressional staffers yet. But that being said, I'm glad the decision is not ours to make. It doesn't hurt to ask. I think it's great to ask. Let's ask. If Chamber thinks it's good, if our business community thinks it's good, let's try it. The decision is not ours, but it's painful to, as a normal citizen, to not know where we stand. And ultimately, that's why I want a seat at the table. I'll tell you, if there's concern with China, I'll tell you what that is, if I'm allowed, obviously. If there isn't, I'll tell you the same, but it's tough to hear opposing views from the people who should know better. That's where I'm at with that.
Mr. Gonzales, the final word, starting now.
With all due respect, I think we must be very progressive and proactive and have all of our leaders work in a united front, driven by data, informed by our experiences. I think it's high time that we work together after elections, after there's no more politics. Roll up our sleeves and work together as a united front to present our compelling need to support tourism and diversify our industries. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates, for your thoughts in this first half of our meeting tonight. This time, we're going to take an intermission, 10 minutes allotted. Everyone is welcome to get up, stretch, get some water, whatever you need to do, and we will reconvene in 10 minutes. Thank you so much.
Please welcome to the stage, all the way from the southern village of Talapofo, the Bailo Ballet.
You got this. What connects you? What moments weave you together? What inspires your story? The relationships we forge today shape us for a lifetime. Our bonds strengthen us, empower us, embolden us, nourish us. We're committed to delivering those connections that matter when and where they matter the most. Connections like family, community, duty, culture, passion. We work to keep you anchored to what drives you, moves you. We work to forge bonds so strong, so steady.
As Super Typhoon Yutu continues Typhoon Mawar continues its direct path towards the Earth.
that even the mightiest forces can't break it.
I'm okay, I'm safe. Just stay in the line, okay?
These relationships mean everything to us because we share these same values, the same heritage, and the same home.
Manasay na. Babati dunu itano ngizo sa malago ju malofan. Jajenge matom ju gitano o malofana mga mamaise.
In a sea of connections, all that's left to ask is, what connects you?
Ladies and gentlemen, if you would please prepare to take your seats, we will resume in a few minutes. We regret to report we lost count of our timing during the break, and so we are going to just go ahead and resume in about in 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Okay, if we could have our candidates take the stage and everybody else take a seat. I'm pleased to report I only have to say, your time starts now, 36 more times. Thank you, candidates, for those excellent thoughts shared in the first half. We're going to proceed now to the next 5 questions for our discussion tonight. Again, returning to Mr. Propst with question number 6. This question is on the topic of Medicaid. Considering the significant proportion of Medicaid recipients in the CNMI, how could we modify or improve our Medicaid program to better address the needs of our local community? Your time starts now.
Well, the big thing about Medicaid and why it's so needed is we have challenges right now. And one of the facts that we have to look at is that Medicaid right now, has been mentioned earlier, is limited. We need parity with the other states. And we do need more. So what if we can't do that? Well, we need to work at being a healthier population. But it is difficult to do that with the challenge that we face. We see that over half of our people are struggling to make ends meet. And we have, of course, an addiction to spam, maybe. I'm one of them, okay? But we need to eat healthier. We need to exercise more. But in times when we don't have all of that, we need better insurance, better options for our people. Medicaid has been so great, and that is one of the reasons why we're grateful to Congressman Kirili in redistributing the unused territorial cap amounts under the Medicaid program. And that's something through these congressional earmarks that has benefited us. We need to really focus on how we can get more equity when it comes to that, and more for our people at this time. CHC is in need of those fundings too, so we hope to lift that cap. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Probst. Ms. Hofschneider, time starts now.
Thank you. How do we take care of Medicaid? First and foremost, Medicaid will continue to rise as long as our community population continues. Having said that, in 2021, under the COVID Act, there was a provision there that included mandatory for states and territories to cover a certain community of people into the Medicaid programs. And having said that, the state, which is the CNMI, need to look into that law and look at the reimbursement and guarantee that there's reimbursement for the CNMI for having to respect that federal act. Number two, I believe that Medicaid at this point, private providers, corporations should participate in providing insurance under the Medicaid Act. Therefore, I believe that there can be better accountability and transparency in the providing of the program. Thank you.
Ms. King-Hinds, starting now.
As I've previously stated, we need to remove the funding cap, because what happens when we don't remove the funding cap for Medicaid is that anything above the funding cap, the CNMI has to take care of, right? Which means we have to rely on the general fund to be able to afford to keep the hospitals open and to be able to provide these services. And so that's going to take some time, and we don't know how that's going to happen, but there are other areas that we can explore. And one of the things that I've heard about is this program where the money follows the person, where folks who have disability or folks who are aging can avail of certain programs where they get direct assistance through another program under Medicaid. There's a variety of programs out there that we haven't explored, and I'm hearing all about them by listening to these different community presentations, and I think we should capitalize on those and bring those programs out here to assist with that. Thank you.
Mr. Rayphand? Starting now.
The cap has been brought up a couple of times, and I don't think anybody can disagree with that. I also mentioned the Affordable Care Act. Again, there's some polarized views on whether that's good or bad, but I know that the full extent of the Affordable Care Act doesn't apply here. There's certain aspects of it that do not apply in the CNMI, and maybe we need to look at that from a delegate standpoint. Beyond that, it's about reducing costs of medical services, right? We talked about that. I don't have the answers to that, how we would do that. And I'm gonna go way off on a tangent here, just something that popped into my head. But it surprised me in our Constitution that one of the restrictions, the first restriction in the Constitution, was that there would be no laws passed barring traditional medicine. I just find that interesting, you know, that the negotiators of our Constitution, our covenant, found it important enough to remind people that we do have traditional medicines that maybe can offset some of the medical needs.
Mr. Gonzales, starting now.
Number one, address the Medicaid cap funding so we can afford healthcare costs, especially in view of the higher dramatic costs of home being remotely away from the United States. We should hire a team of quality assurance healthcare rates auditors at Medicaid to ensure that the costs of medical care, prescription drugs, is controlled. That we negotiate and leverage with the United States military, why not, right? So that we can, under user development fees, be able to leverage the use of the military of our oceans and lands and earmark them for healthcare costs. Why not? It's a win-win for all of our people. I will lobby and secure comprehensive infrastructure funding, rehabilitate our CHC, Teen and Health Care Center, Rhoda Healthcare Center, and equip them with the latest medical technology equipment. Sizus Masi, thank you.
Mr. Probst, the final word, starting now.
Thank you. I think we can all say we agree, and we all see the same point on how critical Medicaid is to our only hospital right now in the CNMI, and it is critical because the hospital itself needs that funding. And I know Congressman Keeley has made tremendous strides in that. One of us that gets into office has to continue to push for that. I don't see too many other options. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. Question number 7, Ms. Hofschneider. This question is on the topic of immigration. How do you plan to collaborate with the Department of Homeland Security, Immigration, and Customs Enforcement and other relevant government agencies to address issues of immigration and visas for the CNMI, such as EVS TAP? Your time starts now.
Thank you. EVS TAP, like they said, Saipan Chamber of Commerce reiterated this, and a lot of policymakers and think tanks. EVS TAP is very important. Those are the tools that will bring us in. The effective date of online review by the Homeland Security, it kicks in on October. Having said that, I believe that we should do away. We don't handle the U.S. immigration as it says. The USCIS handles that. We should work with them and see what are the areas that we need to improve. Having said that, as a former immigration officer, I believe that we don't have, the CNMI do not have the capability of tracking once the visitor comes in and leaves. We've seen that in our community, and we cannot kid ourselves. And that's not good for our enforcement. What do we want to do with our immigration moving forward? I believe that we could continue the consolidated, what is that word? Under act, it's a federal act that talks about the tourism that are coming in, the kind of people that are coming in, and having them vetted a week prior to arrival. We have to work with that, and that's my solution.
Thank you, Ms. Hofschneider. Ms. King-Hinds, starting now.
Thank you. So I've been actually talking to the folks at USCIS, ICE, Department of Homeland Security, and they are sharing with me the challenges with regards to their ability to actually enforce their federal mandates. Congress just simply does not give them enough funding to be able to run their operations and to actually do their jobs. They don't have the resources. So, one of the first things that we need to advocate for is for Congress to actually live up to its obligation. It took over our labor and immigration, but it didn't come with money. And now they're trying to make it seem as if this is a local matter, that this is our problem to address. This is not a CNMI problem, it's a federal problem. And Congress needs to be very cognizant of the fact that they have not provided the necessary support and funding for them to be able to do their jobs on the ground. And that is something that I will advocate for. Thank you.
Mr. Rayphand, starting now.
Yeah, I'm just going to reiterate the fact that I'm glad that the decision is not a local decision. Again, echoing what Kim says, the decision on immigration is not ours, and I'm happy about that. The bureaucracy needs to be lessened, and perhaps it's funding. Again, from a delegate standpoint, maybe we could advocate for them. That's correct. As far as EVS TAP, I think the benefit of it, to my understanding of it, it was really the alternative of just sort of free-flowing Chinese market into the CNMI, that these would be pre-checked travelers to the CNMI. And again, it doesn't hurt. I assume the people that proposed it after some due diligence, right? And that this was a good alternative. So again, I would support that as well. That's all I got on that.
Mr. Gonzales, starting now.
In 2008, through the Consolidated Natural Resources Act, the United States federal government federalized our immigration and actually implemented it a year later in 2009. And I trust that they have the competence and the infrastructure to carefully vet our visitors and laborers, including EVS TAP. If this is an additional tier, why not? Err in the side of caution. We must enforce their responsibilities in the Northern Marianas, fund operations, and hire many more staff on the ground. The 20 years of CNRA, we must use the data and our experience to inform me of a more robust CNMI-only immigration policy that meets the peace and security needs of the United States, but more importantly, our economic salvation and sustainability moving forward. Thank you so much.
Mr. Propst, starting now.
Thank you. When it comes to immigration and labor, I want you to know as your delegate, I will work with federal partners to bring grants, training, and apprenticeship opportunities to the Marianas. I will also champion Congressman Kennedy's H.R. 560, the Northern Marianas Population Stabilization Act, to expand CNMI resident status and ensure stability for our long-term workers and investors. And in place of the CW1 program, create a non-immigrant worker program named the Marianas Visa, tailored for the entire Marianas, including Guam. And in July, we went to Guam with President of Chamber and former President of Chamber, it was Joe Guerrero and Alex Sablon, and several of my colleagues to push for this program. We also want to establish a Marianas Regional Commission to build community capacity and strengthen economic development here in the entire Marianas. Thank you.
Ms. Hofschneider, you have the final words, starting now.
Thank you. I'm glad that Congressman said that about the transition of workers into permanent residency. We are all aware that the U.S. immigration does not rest in the CNMI law. The U.S. provides the visas, the permanent residency, and the U.S. passport. To have a stable workforce and an economy, I believe the United States needs to do better.
Thank you, candidates. We will move on to question number 8 at this time. One moment, please, while we attend to our timing system. We're so glad that happened between questions and not in the middle of the question. Okay, Ms. King-Hinds, this question is on the topic of veterans. Our veterans encounter numerous challenges, particularly concerning healthcare. How would you address and resolve the persistent issue of the absence of an outpatient VA clinic in the CNMI? And your time starts now.
You know, since my daughter became a veteran, this issue has been very near and dear to my heart. And the fact is that we don't have reliable data for the CNMI because folks don't register, so they're not accounted for, and we're just lumped into Guam. And if you look at our CNMI Veterans Affairs, there's only one federally funded position, and they're operational. They've been given only about a $15K operational fund. Okay. So my dream, honestly, is to have our very own veteran center. But the fact of the matter is that that's a hard goal. That's a long way out. And so here are some of the things that we can do now. 56% of our veterans are being denied, are not eligible to travel, and they're not given that benefit. So we need to amend that so that more people can qualify, so that it's not contingent upon the percentage of your disability. We need to do that. That's something that we can work now. We need to expand resource sharing agreements with local providers. We need to expand community care network by contracting more local providers to be able to provide that services while we work towards that long-term goal. It's taking about 227 days to be able to draw down on your disability claim. That needs to change. As your delegate, those are the things that I would advocate for while we wait to have that Veterans Center. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. King-Hinds. Mr. Rayphand, your time starts now.
First of all, this issue is nationwide, and it blows me away that veterans still struggle for something as should be as basic as healthcare, mental or physical healthcare. So, you know, talk about frustrating. This is one of those things that I don't understand how our veterans are not better taken care of. That being said, locally, our efforts to improve the medical system in general should have a positive effect on our veteran population. I don't necessarily see that there has to be a separate veterans clinic per se. In fact, we talk about leveraging the military. Why not leverage their resources to boost our own hospital to serve veterans and the rest of the citizens equally? So basically, I guess the answer is improve healthcare system in general to include leveraging funds from the military. Thank you.
Mr. Gonzales, starting now.
I have had the privileges of visiting our people in homes. And I kid you not, I did not realize there's a few more people, quite many people, in fact, that have returned home because home is where the heart is. Veterans. And time and again, they tell me that the issues they have is the lack of access to health care. We must do a better job. And if data and working in consortiums with Hawaii, Samoa, Guam, and the Northern Marianas, by using the number and the data to justify the needs for taking care of our veterans, why not? There is no price tag for our veterans. And as your delegate, failure is not an option. I will run in DC and work and justify because taza pasta ni sindaluta, they put their lives at risk. The least we can do is take care of our people. Thank you.
Mr. Probst, starting now.
When it comes to our veterans, yes, we definitely need to do better because it is our veterans who ultimately paid the price for so many things. And one of the hardest things is the suicide rates that we've seen locally. It's painful because we've lost friends and family for that. And one life taken is too much. As your delegate, I will continue the work of Congressman Kilali to stand up, fight for the CNMI's own fully fledged vet center so that veterans can complete access to needed mental health and care and services. And I'll also do my best to advocate for a CBOC, which is a community-based outpatient clinic on island so that Northern Marianas veterans can receive regular and specialized care without needing to travel. My heart is with our veterans, and I'm very proud of them. Thank you.
Ms. Hofschneider, starting now.
Thank you. Having family and friends and neighbors who have served in the armed services in all units, I have seen the real struggle and challenge both here and in Hawaii when they're there for medical referral. There's no reason why the veteran services for our patients, our veterans that are here should be different and separate from the Commonwealth Health Center. It should be together, and I echo one of our delegates out here. That is the whole goal at this point. Of course, at the end of the day, we need to have a veteran hospital here. The extension or the expansion in Tinian deemed that necessary. And having said that, we need to have partnership with the Commonwealth Health Center and more access to other healthcare providers. It should not be just single. There's no reason why, especially for Tinian and Rhoda, the veterans there, they have more challenges. So I look forward to working with the hospital and the Veterans Affairs.
Ms. King-Hinds, the final word, starting now.
If we mean what we say about veterans, the one thing that we can immediately do here at the local level is give more than $15,000 per annum for the Veterans Office operations. That's $15,000 for operations, but no funding for utilities, which means veterans, this government, our own government is treating veterans as an afterthought. We can do better. I thank you for your service, veterans, and I'm sorry for failing you.
Thank you, candidates. We will move to question number 9, Mr. Rayphand. This question is on the topic of education and workforce. How do you plan to support educational institutions like Northern Marianas College and NM Tech to strengthen our workforce and combat brain drain, ensuring that local students have opportunities to stay and contribute to the CNMI's development? Your time starts now.
From the delegate seat, I mean, we're really talking about funding, right? We're talking about making sure that the education system is funded well enough to support all the programs that we need. Going further, we need to support more of the voc ed classes, I guess, or certifications, I guess. So it really comes down to funding. Beyond that, introducing, I don't want to overthink education, but bottom line, I think as a delegate, it's important that we connect the workforce with what the education programs that we're providing, right? There's certain things going on in labor that I think are great models, the apprenticeship models, creating educational programs that mean something locally, right? The recent example of that, there's a maritime program that's going on. They're teaching kids maritime things, but they're actually tied in with the industry of the maritime. So kids are graduating from this program and actually getting employed as mariners. So beyond that, I'm not sure what beyond the funding issue that the delegate can do.
Thank you, Mr. Rayphand. Mr. Gonzales. Starting now.
Data, data, data. 20 years of experience with the Consolidated Natural Resources Act. Originally, we were given a sunset provision of 10 years. They extended it up to December of 2029. Let us use the data and develop a more robust CNMI workforce and education master plan that meets the needs of our skilled laborers and NMC so that we can collaborate and make sure we fund and invest in the next 25, 50 years. As chairman, 7 out of 8 years at Northern Marianas Trades Nonprofit Institute, and our new staff was CEO Agnes McFeeters, we presented $14 million to the newly created NM Tech Institute from US EDA and CDBG-DR infrastructure. I have helped the people. I've been there. I know the solution to our workforce and development. Thank you.
Mr. Probst, starting now.
Thank you. As your delegate, I will do all I can to support and strengthen NMC and NM Tech and enhance our ties with regional higher education and trades institutions. And of course, support NMC's bid for the Sea Grant designation. I know President Galvin Guerrero has been pushing for this, and as delegate, I will continue to push for this to see that this happens. I will champion Congressman Kilili's College Affordability Initiative to close the gap between in-state and out-of-state tuition for CNMI students at any four-year public college, so that if they further their college after NMC, there will be a much more affordable education for them after their initial experience here at NMC. I have a daughter who started smart at NMC. She's now at Seattle University, and I want to see this college affordable initiative for everyone, for all of our students. Thank you.
Ms. Hofschneider, starting now.
Thank you. As I was saying, an educated community is very important. To me, the Northern Marianas College is a perfect example today. Like they say, put your money where your mouth is. The government in the past 20 years has underfunded the Northern Marianas College. It actually almost risked its accreditation standard. And I know that there are veterans here at the Northern College that knew this and participating in the Western accreditation. Having said that, one of the delegates mentioned it, an institute of marine technology and oceanographic are the things that we can help our college do that, create that. At the same time, we also need to work with leveraging, I don't like that word, working with our partners under the Department of Education and look at what are the areas that we can develop in public policy based on strategic planning. We need to have a strategic plan in order to develop.
Ms. King-Hinds, starting now.
So I've spoken to the folks at NMC, and I was asking them where are areas of opportunities and where are the gaps are with regards to funding. And there's a lot of money that is given out to minority serving institutions, one of which is called the Asian American and Native Pacific Island Serving Institution, ANAPISI for short. And if you look at that pot of funding, we are getting 1% in comparison to what everybody else is getting. So to give you an example, we're getting $57,000 per capita, while other minority serving institutions are getting around $400,000 per person per capita. That is something that I will immediately address and fight for, should I be fortunate enough to get your vote. Thank you.
Mr. Rayphand, you have the final word starting now.
Our kids need to understand that education extends beyond the classroom. But beyond that, they also need to understand why are they learning what they're learning in the classroom, right? So that's the message. Education can't be viewed, and we can't prioritize what's most important in education. We need to see it more cyclically. Everything is important in education, and everything has an avenue, an outlet for what the kids can do with it. So we need to approach education more holistically.
Thank you, candidates. We are now at our final question for this evening. Mr. Gonzales, this question is on the topic of transportation. The high cost of airfare between the CNMI and Guam, coupled with the inconvenience of overnight stays, continues due to limited airline options, affects both travel and visitor access. How do you plan to address this issue and advocate for more affordable and convenient travel solutions? Your time starts now.
Remove the U.S. cabotage law that works well in countries that have contiguous states or counties. It does not work for us Pacific, Blue Continent islands separated by water. What American-owned airlines or domestic carrier would invest, right? With the high cost, exorbitant cost, and further exacerbated by the worst inflation ever in modern history. It's important for us to, where's the problem, and attack it through robust, relevant, and effective solutions through legislation. Remove the cabotage law and work with United States allies in the region, Japan, the Philippines, Korea, Skymark, low-cost carriers, to ensure that we provide reliable, reduced cost of flying, but at the same time ensuring the United States peace and security in the greater Indo-Pacific region, number one. Number two, we must work to make sure that the essential air service is provided to us and sustainable for us, justify or compelling extenuating circumstances and the high cost of living in the Northern Marianas, relentlessly and respectfully negotiate and seek those necessary partnerships. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzales. Mr. Propst, your time starts now.
Thank you. And I want to say I've been saying it for quite a while now, for several years, posting on Facebook about the frustration when it comes to $600 round-trip airfares between Guam and Saipan. I say it so much that I never get any free upgrades on United, and I'm probably sure that I've upset quite a few executives at United. But nonetheless, it's outrageous. And yes, absolutely, my colleague, my classmate is 100% correct. We do need to do something to lower or suspend the cabotage restrictions. And that is exactly what Congressman Keeley is doing right now, along with Delegate Moylan from Guam. They're working hard through HR 8786 to have cabotage exemptions. And yes, to Essential Air Service, colleague, I agree with you on that. And also to upgrade seaports to accommodate larger vessels and develop an inter-island ferry system for the Marianas. Thank you very much.
Ms. Hofschneider, your time starts now.
Thank you. It's basically housekeeping. The overnight stay in Guahan is unnecessary, and I would tag along with what, and I give him a lot of praise, Delegate Moylan from Guahan, that he worked with the United Airlines, because when you're traveling from Guam to Honolulu, you would have to move from one carousel to the next building, and it's very difficult. Having said that, it's important that the leaders, the delegates office, the governor and the legislators talk to United Airlines to have a connecting flight or a delayed departure, so you have a reasonable connecting flight out of Guam, so you don't have to do the overnight stay. I believe that is just the housekeeping. It's public policy. If I am the delegate, I will do exactly what Delegate Moylan of Guam did with the United Airlines to remove that impediment for the travelers traveling from Guam to the United States. Thank you.
Ms. King-Hinds, starting now.
I've been advocating for the Essential Air Service program to be extended to the CNMI. But let's just talk about some hard truths, because I had this conversation with the Chief of Staff of Congressman Ed Case. And there simply is no appetite in Congress right now to expand that service to the CNMI. As a matter of fact, he said that Congress cheers every time a participant drops out. Why? Because it's costly. But here's something that we can do immediately. Bring more airlines in. And the one fastest way that we can bring more airlines in is by restoring Annex 6 exemption and getting those flights to come in. Because the more flights that land, the less the cost is of landing here at the airport. That's just business. That's how business works. And we need to we need to stop being emotional in this conversation and just talk about it in terms of dollars and cents. Thank you very much.
Mr. Rayphand, starting now.
I think it's important that we support the ongoing efforts in there with the Essential Air Service and with the cabotage exemption requests. So follow through on that. Like I said earlier, it doesn't hurt to ask, right? And it doesn't hurt to present that to the House and see what we can get. Beyond that, we need to be courting more domestic airlines, or more domestic freight for that matter, right? So it's not just about, sure, it's a nice idea to be able to bring in foreign carriers. I mean, we do have, longtime allies in the region that could benefit from that as well. So that's one part of it, right? But absolutely, we need to court more domestic airlines, and that includes fair dealings at the airport level here, right? I don't know how the fee structures are determined, but that's certainly a hot topic right now, locally, right? And so there needs to be some way to bring some order and fair dealing to the manner in which we court airlines.
Mr. Gonzales, the final word, starting now.
We should remind ourselves again that where more than one participates, countries and companies have done this. I think we must be bold and proactive and progressive, and once and for all, delivering and executing a consortium. Remember UMDA, everybody? UMDA, United Micronesian Development Association. Who would have thought Continental Airlines at the time, together with our local stock owners from every Micronesian island.
At this time, we'll move on to the closing statements from our candidates. And before doing so, I would like to thank each of you for really sharing a wide breadth of ideas in such a concise amount of time. It is a challenge, and you guys have certainly risen to the challenge with respect that has really what has struck me the most is the respect that you have each shown each other. So thank you for presenting your ideas and your character to us this evening. We will move on now to our closing comments. You will have 2 minutes each, beginning with Mr. Propst and starting now.
You know, before I began my 5 terms in the CNMI House of Representatives, I was a program manager for the CNMI PSS Head Start program. And after almost 5 years there, I left PSS to run for office, knowing fully well that I'd be making a lower salary and leaving a fantastic organization if I were to win. In Precinct 1, I ran as an underdog with 17 other candidates, and to everyone's surprise, I actually won, except for my small committee, and that's my former chairman, Kimo Rosari, who always believed in me. Thank you, Par, for showing up again, and appreciate it. And to my team that's here. With my legislative experience, my ability to work with others, and my desire to build relationships with other legislators, I can hit the ground running. To get results that the CNMI deserves, you need to build partnerships. It's about compromise and negotiation. It is about finding common ground and shared values. I've built some really strong relationships with Governor Palacios, Lieutenant Governor David Apatang, Congressman Kilili Sablan, and of course, our House leadership under Speaker Ed Villagomez and my team. I'm very proud to serve with you. I will continue to build relationships for the benefit of the CNMI. I'm ready to serve the CNMI in Washington, D.C. I may not have been born in the CNMI, but I live here and I always will. CNMI nagagi corason. I humbly ask for your vote of confidence this November 5. I'm #1 on the ballot, but you were #1 in my heart. And I want to give a shout out, of course, and great gratitude to my wife, Daisy, my children, who have always stood there for me through thick and thin. I love you so much, and you are my universe. And I will do everything I can to protect you, as I will do everything I can to serve our people. Best of luck to my fellow candidates. I wish you all well. Good night.
Thank you, Mr. Probst. Ms. Hofschneider, starting now.
Thank you. Good evening again to the viewers out there and to everyone out here. Thank you for your time, taking your time away from your busy schedules to come and listen to us, to share with you what are our visions for our Commonwealth and going forward, moving forward. It has been 49 years since we signed the covenant. It's a treaty with the United States of America with the promise of a progressively higher standard of living for every citizen that makes this a home. Taking that promise, I intend to take that to the fullest of the promises of the covenant. The people that are voting for us expect something to deliver to them. Our children, our manamko, our working class and our middle class, we need to push them up. This is the expectation. I intend to move forward, moving the middle income upward, not be pushed down with whatever the situation is right now. I believe that we are an American citizen. We're part of the American family. And having said that, we have to be, as America said, we're investing in America. So America should and must invest in us. And I plan and intend to use all sections of the covenant, especially Section 7 of the covenant to the fullest extent. At the same time, I will also look at all the promises and the power of the U.S. Congress delegate seat to introduce legislations that affect change and impact the greatest to our community. Again, I want to thank you for inviting me into your space and allowing me. I'm a village girl. I'm very simple. The CNMI is in my heart. I've always been, having left and coming back home in the last 20, 30 years. I will still come again regardless what happens on November 5th. I will still do the same. This is a promise, and on November 5th, I ask for your vote of confidence. Undankulu na Jesus Masis and Ugwaiza Hamzu.
Thank you, Ms. Hofschneider. Ms. King-Hinds, your time starts now.
Walk it like you talk it. That's what true leadership is about. It's not enough to say the right things, you have to act. And for far too long, our relationship with the federal government has been about power and control, using policies to chokehold the CNMI's ability to be economically self-sustainable. We're being forced to beg for federal handouts, leaving us all struggling to survive. This is not a partnership. It's subjugation that's forcing our best and brightest to leave because we don't have the opportunities here for them to thrive. Guys, 10 years ago, when the federal government wanted to rip our reefs out, drop bombs on our islands, we rallied together and we said no. No one is dropping bombs today because we fought. Everyone wants to talk about leveraging the military. I'm doing that now, and I've been in the trenches taking hits and fighting for all of us on this issue for the last 10 years. Today, our tourism industry, the lifeblood of our economy, is being squeezed, taking food off your kitchen tables and forcing us into desperate situations. Bingo. Bingo can't be the answer to healthcare these days. Tonight, you've heard all of us talk about all the issues, but at the end of the day, who's going to protect your kitchen table? This is what this decision is all about. When the tourism industry cried out for help, I answered that call to save jobs, to grow our economy, and pay for our bills. This is what it means to walk it like you talk it as a leader. I've been running more than my mouth I've been doing. Every single person in the CNMI deserves representation that doesn't settle for less, but demands equality, demands opportunity, and demands respect. And I'm asking every single person to rally with me in this fight. Let's level up the CNMI together. Vote for me this December. Thank you very much for your time, and have a great evening, everybody.
Thank you, Ms. King-Hinds. Mr. Rayphand, time starts now.
It's really tempting to sit up here and talk about my track record and all the good things I've done in the community. In fact, I'm advised to do that. I'm supposed to tell you all what a great person I am and how much good I can do for the CNMI, but I was reminded by someone that I needed to stay focused on the issues. Right? She said, showing your character is one thing, but we want to know that you understand the issues. Well, we certainly don't have any shortage of issues. I mean, tonight alone, we've got, nutrition, healthcare, economy, education, veterans, airlines. The issues are endless. So she makes a good point, of course, but focusing on the issues facing the CNMI is something akin to counting the stars in the sky. There's just so many, right? And they're coming at us from all different directions. So I keep circling back to a singular thought on the matter and intent of the covenant, right? We are Americans. Okay, but we don't have to give up who we are as islanders. We need to stay connected with our island the way we're supposed to. So my focus will be enlisting all the support and protections available to us under the American flag, including but not limited to, or maybe rather especially, protections against forces, foreign or domestic, that threaten our way of life, right? So economic prosperity is one thing, but cultural preservation means a lot, right? And culture beyond just the culture of celebration, right? We do have customary cultures of celebration. We wear our mars, we dance. That's celebrating. I'm talking about cultures of fishing and agriculture and connecting with the land in a way that we can benefit from it, like we were always meant to. Couple seconds to the candidates, man. This has been an honor. Nobody knows beyond the five of us what this is like and how this feels. So I'm very proud to have shared this stage with you. Chamber of Commerce, for a guy with no budget for my campaign, I very much appreciate the exposure. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rayphand. Mr. Gonzales, your time starts now.
I have been privileged to have worked 30 plus years in the executive and legislative branches, the nonprofit sector, the US Congress, US federal departments, and the White House. I've been helping our people. But my greatest joy is working with all of you over these years. I've worked with parents and teachers as your PTA president for years, for our community as Natibu Lions president, protecting Article 12 and our rights as your NMD president. NMHC hired me to write the largest federal grant in the history of the Commonwealth, $245 million CDBGDR that has ramped up support, multiplier economic effects for our construction industry, building 2, 3, 4 bedroom homes for our families. How cool is that? Ladies and gentlemen, I've worked for you. Di Masyaw, Guagwan, Iapaskondid, and Presyoning Kanukadames. I was going to say, in the span of 6 months, I worked with our team at NMHC, and we secured $245 million. Imagine Costa Rica when you send me to Washington, D.C. God is good. Ispitata tinahong medicos and makina para man malongo. Basna ki ekonomiyata taza tsotsu manama si familiata manamkota iman ditirao. Ta nisisita representanti giza Kongreso ng Amerika ni karikatibo hapinitizi tautauta taimano hupinitizi itres na lalahin mami insigira sa naimota sa gwaw Charlene in 2015. Ang ngato yami peluhuluh woy hatri fishi malawash falay mga kapwa kababayan mangyaring boto sa numero 5 upang matulungan ang ating mga tao at ang ating isla ng tahanan. Number 5 on the ballot, Hugway sa Hamzo Marianas, Luta Tinian sa Ipan, Toto Isla, Hugway sa Hamzo, 1 Marianas, LTPL, let's rock and roll Marianas and let's do this. High five.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzales. And with that, I'm pleased to announce we are here at the conclusion of our event. We do want to recognize the Saipan Chamber of Commerce for hosting our event tonight, and also NMI News Service for live streaming for everybody who wasn't able to get a seat. We'd also like to recognize a few volunteers: Melina Tenorio, Philvina Atlig, Mary Jo Camacho, Ariel Villagomez, Francis Peter, Tyler Fittiel, and the Azuzu Battalion Color Guard team. Of course, the candidates themselves for participating. We look forward to working with whoever our elected delegate will be following the election in December. And now, finally, we invite the audience to give you a round of applause for your participation, starting now. Thank you, Sizus Masi Olamai. Please stand for the retiring of colors by the Azuzu Battalion. Thank you and good night.
Saipan disangka tanah Islas Guizain mos dong kulu Mangapu si hai flores Zan unagi kon tun tonu Mandanya si hai tau tau Masih ya hava na okasyon Lupa